Dear students, today we are going to discuss the very interesting topic vowels. Vowels are, very important because these are special in producing the sounds. These combine with the letters named as consonants and they produce different sounds. This thing enables us to speak like native persons and like native people who are expert in making the sounds clear. First of all, my dear students, let's try to understand what are the vowels. In alphabets of English, you quite know that there are basically five vowels which are named as A, E, I, O, U. And rest of the alphabets are called consonants. Dear students, vowels combine with the letters consonants and they are used to produce the different sounds. First of all, you should be very familiar with the definition and each and everything about the topic under discussion. I have created only 46 slides in order to make you understand about the today's topic under discussion. So let's go through the very first slide. A vowel is a syllabic speech sound pronounced without any stricture in the vocal tract. Vowel is actually a sound which is produced without any obstruction in the vocal tract. Vocal tract you are well familiar as you have studied, and this we have already discussed it in speech acoustics that this is the passage, this is the way to produce the sounds through vocal cords, and vocal cords vibrate and oscillate, and through these vibrations and oscillations we are able to produce the sounds. So, in order to understand, a vowel is a syllabic speech sound pronounced without any stricture in vocal tract. So, if there is no obstruction while producing the sound through the vocal cords, these sounds can be known as vowel sounds. And pronunciation is actually the way how to sound the words. This is basically the way to sound the words. So, this is called pronunciation. Vowels are one of the two principal classes of speech sounds, the other being the consonant. As you know that there are 26 alphabets in English, and there are only five which are known as vowels, and rest of the alphabets are called consonants. So vowels are one of the two principal classes of speech sounds, the other being the consonants, and vowels vary in quality, in loudness, and also in quantity. Quantity means length. They are usually voiced and are closely involved in the prosodic variations such as tone, intonation, and stress. Prosodic variations are actually used in the linguistics, which is the modern and scientific study of language. So, in prosodic variant and variations, we try to understand what is the tone of the words and what is the intonation. Intonation is actually how the words should be produced, and where we have to rise the level of the words and where we have to down the level of words in case of their pronunciation, and where we have to put the stress. The word vowel comes from the Latin word vocalis, meaning vocal. For example, it relates to the voice. Vocal basically is actually the production of the sound through vocal cords. In English, the word vowel is commonly used to refer both to vowel sounds and to the written symbols that represent them as A, E, I, O, and U, and sometimes W and Y. Basically, W and Y are the semi vowels. They are not actually the vowels, but they function as vowels. As you know, that I am going to speak the word sky, fly. So here, suppose I just call and speak up a word myth, myth. So here y functions as a vowel, although it's not basically the vowel. It is just categorized only on the basis of the sound. So let's discuss the next slide: phonetics and phonology. Yes, these are two things, two branches regarding the sounds. You must keep these things in your mind if you really want to have all type of knowledge about the vowels and consonants in English. In linguistics, the study of speech sounds is divided into two main branches: phonetics and phonology. Phonetics deals with the physical properties of speech sounds. Physical properties can be termed as the characteristics in how the sound is produced and which sources are going to contribute and take part in the production of the sound. Phonetics, and phonology, these are the two branches, especially in linguistics. So, if we study phonetics deals with the physical properties of speech sounds, their production, and their acoustic characteristics. Acoustics is basically the branch of science which deals with the study of the production of the sound, the way sound is produced, and what factors take part in production of the sounds. Although these can be internal or external, and these two factors can also be concerned. It focuses on the articulation and acoustic features of sounds, including vowels. uh, Articulation means when you are about to speak up, when you are about to utter a word. This can be termed as articulation. And articulate basically is a verb, and it is to speak up. And articulation is actually a noun in which we are going to articulate or speak up. So it focuses on the articulation and acoustic features of sounds, including vowels. Phonology. Phonology, on the other hand, deals with the abstract mental representation of the speech sounds in a language. It studies how sounds function in the language, the rules governing their distribution, and their roles in forming meaningful units like words and syllables. So, phonology is also very important because it deals with the abstract mental representation of speech sounds in a language. And language is a vehicle through which we use to drive our thoughts. So language is a vehicle through which we drive our thoughts. This is basically the way to express one's feelings and passions and what they think. So it studies how the sounds function in the language, the rules governing their directions, and their roles in forming meaningful units like words and syllables. The International Phonetic Alphabet. This is abbreviated as IPA. Represents vowel sounds with specific symbols. Here are some common vowel symbols in IPA. Monophthongs. This is basically the first which is going to be discussed. So try to be focused. Monophthongs: high front rounded unrounded vowel, as in beat, beat. And near, this is now this is the second IPA symbol: near high, near front, unrounded vowel, as in beat. And this is third symbol: close made for front unrounded vowel. This is basically the position of the tongue and how you have to produce a sound using your tongue surface and your muscles of the mouth, including jaws. So this is basically this sound seems to be pronounced as wait. Next, try to understand. This is basically open mind front unrounded vowel as in bat, and near open front unrounded vowel as in bat. Bat. Open front unrounded vowel as in father. Father. And open backgrounded vowel as in balm. Open mid backgrounded vowel as an bought. Close backgrounded vowel as in boat. And this symbol which can relate to omega symbol, near close near backgrounded vowel as in book. And this U symbol in IPA is pronounced as in boat. Boat. This can be termed as boot. And diphthongs. Diphthong starts as E and glides into I, as in bay. Diphthongs that starts as A and glides into I, as by. Diphthongs that start as and glides into as in boy. Diphthongs that start as boat. Diphthongs that start as A and glides into as cow. Vowel sounds. Vowels are speech sounds produced with an open track, allowing air to flow freely without a significant obstruction. They are characterized by the absence of any significant constriction or closure in the vocal tract. So, let me just state the point that vowel sounds are only those sounds which we freely utter and speak up and produce without any obstruction and any stricture in the vowel track. English has five vowels, right? A, E, I, O, and U. Sometimes we count Y too, so maybe six. But it's not basically the vowel. It seems to me very quite similar to a semi-vowel, which functions as between vowels and consonants. So while this might be true about the written language, it's not the case for spoken English. There are many more distinct English vowel sounds or phonemes. Phonemes is basically the unit. A single sound is called phonemes in phonology and phonetics, that can make the difference between otherwise and similar words. Exactly how many vowel phonemes English has depends on which variety of the language we are talking about. In this lecture, we'll use Standard Southern British English, which is acronymed and abbreviated as SSBE, and General American English Jan A as our reference accents. Accent is actually the way to speak up, the way to speak, and this can easily be related to the dialect. And one information is going to be generated by me, that your dialect, the way to speak, or the accent to speak, or the accent to pronounce a word is actually changed after covering the distance of 2.5 miles. So after every 2.5 miles, you see that there is a change in the dialect. Although there are many speakers of different language, and in world maximum languages are being spoken right now, but with the same language, a group of people can have different dialects and different accents. It depends upon the area particularly, and as I have generated the information that your dialect, your accent goes to change after covering the distance of 2.5 miles. Suppose you speak a particular language, you will see after 2.5 miles the accent will be changed, although there will be a single language of coordination and communication and conversation among you people, but it changes just because of the distancing, and this is the distance where accent can easily be changed and can easily be understood that there is a change and variation in accent and dialect. Although words will be same and way of talking will be same, communication will be same, conversation will be same, and language vehicle will be same, but with different dialect, with different accent, with different sound. Okay, other English accents will have slightly different number of vowel sounds, but generally speaking, what is a vowel? In order to count the number of English vowel sounds, we need to know that counts as a vowel. Technically speaking, vowels are produced by releasing air from the lungs through the oral and or nasal cavity. Okay, here we have to understand the point that whenever we are about to speak, whenever we are about to utter a single word, we must, start from our lungs. So air is basically released from the lungs, and it actually passes through the vocal cords, and it creates some type of disturbance there, which we simply call as oscillations. Oscillations can also be understood as vibrations. So air released from the lungs and passing through the vocal cords and going back going going outward from the mouth creates a disturbance in the vocal cords. So the first thing that is responsible for the production of the sound is air coming from your lungs and traveling out of your mouth by passing through the vocal cords. Okay, and this air passes from the oral or nasal cavity. From there, we typically modify these sounds with our vocal cords, mouth, and lips to produce distinct vowel sounds. Here, you have to notice that when I am talking to you, there is a particular type of movement for my lips, and there are jaws also involved in production of the sounds, and it entirely basically depends upon the vocal folds. So all these things take part in making the sounds clear. And if there are some words which cannot be spoken without the movement of jaws, but here there are only the vowel sounds which are you know uh, which are produced through vocal cords, and basically there is no obstruction, like A, E, I, O, U. So here, you observe my mouth, my jaws, all were still, all were stable. They were not moving upward and downward, and similarly to other directions. Okay. However, this description can also include sounds like the W in weight, and the Y in ear, and R in red. But these are not vowels because they lack the vital characteristics that all vowels have in common. Although they function in such particular words that they function as vowels, but they are basically not fulfilling the criteria of being the vowel, because there are vital characteristics of the vowels while they are going to be pronounced and they are going to be spoken. So in these words starting with W, Y, and R, they can be, they can be said as uh, the replacements of vowels in their sounds, but actually they are not. Vowels are syllabic, meaning they can be a syllable all on their own. So syllable, let's discuss in detail. Types of vowels. First of all, let us discuss the types of vowels, and then we will start and try to understand what are the syllables. Words can be monosyllabic, disyllabic, and polysyllabic, but we discuss these words later. Let's first of all we try to focus on the types of vowels. From here, we can divide English vowel sounds up into a couple of categories like short vowels, long vowels, diphthongs, vowels, and weak vowels. So let's try to understand these four types of the vowels on the distribution of the slides. Syllables are the basic units of speech and language organization. So syllables are the basic units of speech and language organization. They are segments of a word and that consists of one or more sounds, typically centered around a vowel sound. So syllables are basically centered along the vowel sounds and around the vowel sounds. In English, words are often made up of one or more syllables. In English, there are basically one or more syllables, and if there are two syllables, they can be disyllabic. And if there are more than two syllables, then they can be named as and termed as the polysyllabic words. So, in English, words are often made up of one or more syllables, and understanding syllables is important for correct pronunciation and spelling. So, if you lack in understanding the syllable sounds, you cannot produce the words exactly. You cannot sound the words exactly like native persons. You will always be confused and you will seem to be upset and nervous regarding the pronunciation of the words because if you are unfamiliar with syllables. So syllables are basically the units which enable you to utter the words in an in a certain order, just like native persons. Especially if I talk about this language English, we are going to discuss that Americans and British people have different accents. So in their accents and in their dialects and in their language, different words are actually pronounced as differently. So it entirely depends upon the knowledge of syllables. And if I am unfamiliar with the syllables and the syllabic sound of the words, I would not be able to understand to how to communicate, how to deliver the words exactly, just like native persons who have inborn capability to talk to other people, to talk to their listeners in their mother tongue. So, for pronunciation and for spelling, syllables are most important. So, spelling is also a factor that affects the syllabic configuration of the words. If suppose we have to say the word, we have to pronounce the word, a particular word, so it will depend upon the way how it's being produced, how the word is being produced. So, it will be spelled as its syllabic sound is. So here are the key characteristics and rules related to the syllables. Vowel centered, every syllable must contain a vowel sound. Vowels are the core of syllables. Vowels are the core. So because there is a particular sound and it entirely depends upon the vowel, and if there are vowels, the words can be said as syllabic words. So if there are two vowels, if there are three vowels, they will produce a sound differently. So we need to understand that vowels are the core and they may be surrounded by the consonant sounds. So wherever there are vowels, there must lie consonants, because this will be a perfect combination for the pronunciation and the sound for pronunciation and sounding the words exactly. Vowel sounds. In English, each vowel letter can represent multiple vowel sounds. For example, the letter A can represent different vowel sounds, as in cat and cake. So in IPA, here we can say that this sound is going to be pronounced as like cat, cat, K-A-E. Should be intermingled. These two vowels should be mixed, and this will enable us to understand that what type of sound is being produced, like cat, cat. And if we focus on this word, this is basically cake, cake. So cerebral count. Words can be classified based on the number of syllables they contain. So there is basically the classification of the words, which is based on the syllables. Words with one syllable are called monosyllabic. For example, cat. Here you can see that there is only a single vowel, and like such as dog. Here is also a single vowel, which is o. Words with here I have to share the technical thing. Sometimes the vowels are written alone in the language, written or spoken. Suppose I is a vowel. I is a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, and it should always be written as capital. Either it is in the start of the sentence, or in the middle of the sentence, or at the end of the sentence. Wherever there is letter R alone, it should be written as capital letter. And the second vowel, which stands by its own, and it is written alone, and it functions as single letter or single word, it is O. We can observe it in the poetical pieces of writing. So, words with two syllables are called disyllabic, like cafe, cafe, and this is table, table. So here are two vowels, A and E, and these on the basis of these two vowel sounds, we can say that this is a disyllabic word. And words with three or more syllables are polysyllabic, like banana and elephant. So basically, these were the differences among the syllables. Syllables are the vowels are the core of the syllables, and vowels decide what words should be, how words should be syllabic, monosyllabic, disyllabic, and polysyllabic. Open and closed syllables. Syllables can be classified as open or closed based on the vowel consonant pattern. On the vowel consonant pattern, open syllables end with a vowel sound and are not followed by a consonant. Open syllables end with a vowel sound and are not followed by a consonant. For example, me and go are both open syllables because these are ending with a vowel sound, like me. Here E is a vowel, and go. Here O is a vowel. So both are named as open syllable. So if we talk about the closed syllables, and with a consonant sound, and the vowel is typically short, like cat and step. Here A and E are typically short, and these end with consonant letters, like uh, uh, cat. And here you can see that C is also a consonant and A is a vowel, and it ends with T, which is basically a consonant. And step, S is S and T, and S T are basically the consonants, and E is a vowel, and it ends with P, which is basically a consonant. So, closed syllables end with a consonant sound, and vowel is typically short in such words. And I have exemplified like cat and step are both closed syllables. Syllable division. When dividing words into syllables, some general rules apply. A single consonant between two vowels usually joins the following vowel in a same syllable, e.g., radio, petal. So, to explain it concisely, we can say that when a single consonant between two vowels usually joins the following words vowel in a same syllable. A single consonant between two vowels. So here is let me explain. This is basically a vowel A and here vowel E. So there is a single consonant between two vowels usually joins the following vowel in the same syllable. Okay, next, double consonants usually separate into different syllables, e.g., butter, happy. So double consonant usually. This means that there should be a repeating. There should be a repeated number of consonants like butter. To basically T is a consonant sound and T is going to be repeated. Same is the case with happy. Here P is a basically a consonant and it is also going to be repeated. So consonant clusters at the beginning of word often divide between the consonants, e.g. speak, train. Consonant clusters at the end of the word usually stay in the same syllable, e.g. text and stand. Stress in syllables. In in many languages, including English, one syllable in a word is pronounced with greater emphasis or stress than the others. This stressed syllable is often louder and longer. The pattern of stressed and unstressed syllable is an essential aspect of rhythm and pronunciation in spoken language. So, stress of the words enables us to understand the way to pronounce the words and where we have to put the stress on particular words and letters. This will help us in making the sounds clear, just like native speakers. And it will be a source of proper rhythmic action and pronunciation in spoken language. So, understanding syllables helps in proper pronunciation, reading, and writing. By breaking words into syllables, learners can improve their language skills and decode unfamiliar words more effectively. So, if we have really command in understanding the syllables, we should have a knowledge of the emphasis or stress on the words. So, if we are able to produce a stress and emphasis on the words, it means we will be able to speak up the words correctly regarding their pronunciation. This thing will enable us to understand how words are going to be produced. So it helps it helps us in rhythmic and pronunciation as well. So rhythm or pronunciation is very important and necessary, and it can only be achieved when we have the knowledge about where we have to put the stress on the words or where we have to change our sound accordingly. Welcome students to this comprehensive lecture on vowels. Vowels are one of the key elements of spoken language and play a crucial role in forming words. This is basically crucial. It's not crucial. Why? Because if there are two vowels together in a single word, the sound of one vowel is considered as silent. Like I and A, both are vowels. And here we can say that when there are two vowels together in a word. Listen, first of all, try to understand what is word. Crucial. This is crucial. And crucial basically is a word because when letters join, letters, I mean alphabets, like C is a letter, R is a letter, UCIAL, these are all letters. When letters join together, they form words. So, in any word where there are two vowels together, the sound of one vowel is pressed or it is considered as silent. So, it is crucial, not crucial. So, vowels are one of the key elements of spoken language and play a crucial role in forming words and syllables. It's not forming, it's forming. So it is also a rule that if there is R in any word, it should be pressed like particular. It will be pronounced as particular, and forming, it will be pronounced as forming words, not words. So we will delve into the various aspects of vowels, their classification, production, and their importance in spoken communication. So vowels are very important because these enable us to understand the classification, production, and importance. And this is really important in spoken communication. So if we are going to speak, we must be well familiar with how the words should be produced and how words should be pronounced. So if we are unaware about the pronunciation, we will be unable to communicate properly, and we will be unable to convey our words and our thoughts to our listeners. So this is very important for us to have a knowledge about the production and about the classification of the vowels in order to communicate properly, especially in spoken communication. So when there is a written piece of writing, you have just to spell correctly, and it will be no issue for you. But when you are going to speak, you must be well familiar with the proper pronunciation, how you have to sound the words. What are vowels? Vowels are speech sounds that are placed with an open vocal tract, allowing air to flow freely without significant obstruction. So we have already discussed that there is no obstruction while producing the sound of vowels. So there basically air flows freely and without significant obstruction. Such sounds without obstruction, where air flows freely, are named and sounded as vowels. Unlike consonants, which involve some form of constriction or closure in the vocal tract, whereas in contrary, the consonants have some type of constriction or closure of the vocal cords. So vowels are characterized by the absence of such obstructions and basically strictures. They are produced by the vibrations of the vocal cords and are the modification of the shape of the oral cavity. They are produced by the vibration of the vocal cords and the modification of the shape of the oral cavity. Vowels classification. Vowels can be classified based on the several criteria. Basically, several criterion. Criteria is a plural word, and criterion is a singular word, including tongue position, lip rounding, and teeth. In English, the primary classification of vowels is based on tongue height and tongue sprackness. Tongue height. So there is a particular way to sound the words. There should be a considerable movement of tongue, teeth, jaws, and back tongue, round tongue, and tongue touching the teeth. So these are some of the ways that how words should be spoken. It is all about their pronunciation, the way to sound vowels. So high tongue. The tongue is positioned close to the roof of the mouth. Examples include a as in b and as in goose. Mid vowels. The tongue is positioned midway between high and low positions. Examples include as in bad and as in dog. Low vowels. The tongue is positioned low in mouths. Examples include as in cat and as in father. Front vowels. The highest part of the tongue is towards the front of the mouth. Examples include as, in bait, and as in bat. Central vowels. The highest part of the tongue is in the central part of the mouth. Examples include the schwa sound, as in sofa, and as in curl. Back vowels. Basically, schwa is a branch of linguistics. In linguistics, we study schwa. So this is the proper way to sound the words. Back vowels. Here, the highest part of the tongue is vowel production. The production of vowels involves modifying the shape of the vocal tract, primarily through the movement of the tongue and lips. When producing different vowel sounds, the tongue's position in the mouth determines the specific sound. For example, for high vowels, the tongue is raised towards the roof of the mouth, resulting in a more closed oral cavity. Okay. For high vowels, the tongue is raised toward the roof of the mouth, resulting in a more closed oral cavity, as in B. And for mid vowels, the tongue is positioned midway between high and low positions, creating a moderately open oral cavity, as in bad. And for low vowels, the tongue is lowered, leading to the more open oral cavity. In addition to tongue positions, lip rounding also affects vowel sounds. Rounded vowels involve the protrusion of the lips, such as in goose, while unrounded vowels do not involve lip protrusion, like as in beat. So in beat, you are not going to round your lips, but when you are going to uh, you know sound the word vowel sounds, especially as in goose, you round your lips. This is called protrusion. Role of vowels in English. Vowels are integral to forming the core of syllables in spoken words. Each syllable typically contains one vowel sound, though some syllables may contain multiple vowels in specific situations, like diphthongs and triphthongs. The arrangement of the vowels and consonants in syllables contributes to the rhythm and flow of the spoken language. Importance of mastering vowel sounds. So this is very important, because if you have to master, if you really do mastering in vowel sounds, you will be able to have an accurate pronunciation of the vowel sound, that is vital for effective communication. Mispronouncing vowels can lead to misunderstandings and difficulties in conveying meaning. Moreover, mastering vowel sounds helps learners improve their overall pronunciation and fluency and comprehension in English and other languages. So, fluency is basically the way you are going to speak up the words in a continuous change. So, the continuous process of speaking is called fluency. And comprehension means the capability to understand, to comprehend. So if you have really mastered in vowel sounds, you are able to pronounce the words exactly. And if you are not having mastering in vowel sounds, your words are going to be mispronounced, and you will be misunderstood, because you will commit different mistakes, and difficult you will have to face the difficulties while conveying your meanings. Vowels and consonants are two types of speech sounds in human language. They are basic building blocks of the spoken and written communication. In spoken and written, the vowels play the role of bricks. So, bricks are basically the units on which the building is built up. So, that is the why, then that's the reason that vowels are the building blocks of spoken and written communication. Communication is basically the exchange of thoughts between two or among people. So The main difference between vowels and consonants lies in their articulation and role in forming words and syllables. So this is the main difference because vowels and consonants are articulated in different ways. As you know, there is obstruction of air in consonants, and there is no obstruction of air in vowels. Vowels are speech sounds that are produced with an open or vocal tract, allowing the air to flow freely without any obstruction. They are produced by vibrating the vocal cords and modifying the shape of the oral cavity. Vowels are generally considered the nucleus of a syllable, meaning they form the core of syllables and are usually accompanied by consonants on the other side. So, vowels are basically the core of syllables, and syllables are accompanied by consonants. So this is a particular sound, that's the reason that they have the particular sound, and that's the reason that they are pronounced correctly. And the correct pronunciation of the words, so combining of the combined vowels and consonants, will help other listeners to understand what you are going to speak. English has five primary vowels letters like A, E, I, O, and U. However, there are many more vowel sounds in the English language than just five letters, often representing using various combinations of letters or diacritics like E, I, O, U, etc. Examples of vowel sounds in English words include as. So, here we are going to discuss the sounds. Basically, as in cat, and this sound as in bad. This IPA unit as in sage, and this as in dog, and this as in book. So, consonants. Consonants are speech sounds that are produced by obstructing or constricting the airflow in the vocal tract. They are characterized by the presence of some constriction, cloyre, or friction within the oral cavity, throat, or nasal passage. Examples of consonant sounds in English words include B as in bad, K as in cat, M as in mad, N as in nad, P as in pad, and as in say. In summary, the primary difference In summary, the primary difference between the vowels and consonants lies in the way they are produced. Open vocal tract for vowels and some obstruction or for consonants, and their role in forming syllables. Vowels are usually the nucleus of syllables, while consonants can be found at the beginning, middle, or end of the syllables. So basically, the core of syllables is called vowels, and there may be consonants in front, middle, or at the end of end of the words. So these have the peculiar sounds and the particular sounds. English vowels can either be short or long. Vowel lengths can affect the pronunciation and meaning of words. For example, bait has a short vowel, while beat has a long vowel or vowel reduction. In unstressed syllables, some vowels can undergo reduction, particularly the schwa sound. This is basically written in E shape with its opposite direction. So this occurs when vowels become less distinct and are pronounced more centrally. For example, sufa is pronounced as sufa with the schwa sound in unstressed syllable. English has minimal pairs, which are pairs of words that differ in meaning only by sound. Usually, a vowel, for example, pad, this is pad, and pad, forming a minimal pair, where the vowel sound changes, resulting in different words and meanings. Here, just there is a obvious change Through these such changes, we observe that there are particular meanings for words when we are going to change the sound of the vowel. So, changing the vowel sound or changing the sound of the word in phonetically changes the meaning, like hat and tat. Here is just a change of vowel which is kept in the middle of the two consonants. So, this results in different words and meanings. Rhotic vowels. In certain English accents, particularly in American English, rhotic vowels are used. Rhotic vowels are those that are followed by R sound, and the R is pronounced. For example, the vowel sound in car is rhotic because of the R sound at the end. So rhotic, you should understand this rhotic vowels, that if there is R at the end of the word, and R will produce a sound like vowel. So you have to memorize rhotic vowels with the use of R at the end of the word, and R will produce the sound of a vowel. It will replace the vowel. You have to remember this thing by keeping these points in your mind, that what are the rhotic vowels. For example, the vowel sound in car is rhotic because of the R sound at the end. So vowel shifts. Some English accents, such as the northern cities, vowel shift have experienced shifts in vowel pronunciation over time. These shifts result in changes in the quality and articulation of the certain vowels. Next, English borrows words from various languages. English is not only a pure language, and it has different words extracted from the other language of the world. It can absorb many languages in it, and we have taken words borrowed from other language while we are going to speak. We can also use the words from our language into English as well, and it will really create no difference for English. So English borrows words from various languages, and their vowel sounds may not always align perfectly with English vowels. Native English speakers may adapt the pronunciation of these vowels to fit English phonology. So phonology basically deals with the study of the production of the sound phonetically. Vowel reduction in weak forms. Some function words such as articles a and the and pronouns he, she, it have weak forms. Here, articles, basically articles. There are two types of article: definite article and indefinite article. A and an are indefinite article, and the is basically the definite article. And let me describe pronouns. Pronouns are used to replace the nouns, as you were talking about a particular boy named Frank. Frank is a good boy. He gets up early in the morning. He goes to college daily. He attends his lectures. So you are going to replace Frank with he. So he is here a pronoun. So these are basically the weak forms. In these weak forms, the vowel sound is often reduced, making them less prominent in speech. Classification of vowels. Monophthongs. These are pure vowel sounds with a consistent articulation throughout their duration. Examples include the vowels in C, go, and cat. Diphthongs. These are complex vowel sounds composed of the combination of two monophthongs. The tongue slides from the position to another during the articulation. Examples: coin, boy, and time. So here tongue changed two different positions to articulate these words. So these are basically diphthongs, and these add two monophthongs to articulate properly with the changing position of the tongue. Triphthongs. There are even more complex vowel sounds that involve a movement from one vowel to another and then to a third in a single syllable. Examples are found in words like fire, tour, and hour. Vowels are essential elements in forming syllables and shaping the rhythms and melody of spoken language. They often serve as the nucleus of a syllable and around which consonants cluster to create meaningful words and sentences. Role of vowels in language. Vowels are crucial in forming the core of the syllables and words in spoken. They are a nucleus of the syllable, providing phonetic clarity and aiding in pronunciation. Aiding. So here, the nucleus, it is the center of a cell, which is basically the core of the cell. And the core of the words, the syllables is vowel. So the function of vowels is undeniably important because this enables us to speak and pronounce the words phonetically in clarity, and it really aids in pronunciation. It really helps in producing the sounds correctly, and we sound the words correctly according to the pronunciation of the native speakers. Vowels, along with the consonants, contribute to the rhythm, intonation, and melody of spoken language, making it more expressive and engaging. So, when you are going to speak, you try to change your way how you have to sound the words. So there is actually a rise and fall while you are going to speak. This is basically the intonation, and this thing is really very impressive that you are going to change the words fluency and rise and fall with regard to intonation. Words without vowels are quite rare in English language. There are rare words in English without vowels, as vowels play a crucial role in forming the core of syllables and providing phonetic clarity. However, there are a few exceptions where words exist without vowels or without written vowels. Some vowels may be pronounced, but they are not represented in the form of written form. Yes, like sky. Here there is no vowel a, e, I, o, u, but y functions as a vowel sound. So, like fly, rhythm, all these things have vowel sound attributes and characteristics, but without vowels, and these are in written form. Here are some examples of words without vowels. So let's discuss these examples. Okay, words without vowels. Rhythms, a word with no written vowels, but the Y functions as a vowel sound in this case. Lynx, a type of wildcat. This is basically a type of wildcat, and flyby refers to a rapid flight past a target or a location. So words without written vowels but pronounced. Yes, here the point to know is that although there is absence of vowel in the sounds, but y functions as the sound of vowel in order to speak of the word correctly. Words without written vowels, but they are pronounced. Cry, the Y represents a vowel sound. Mates, the Y in this word also functions as a vowel. And Jim, the Y takes on the role of a vowel in this case. In conclusion, vowels are essential components of spoken language, and they are, produced with an open vocal tract, and the classification is based on the tongue height and the backness. Vowels play a fundamental role in forming words and syllables, influencing the rhythm and flow of the spoken language. Accurate pronunciation of the vowel sounds is critical for effective communication, and mastering them contributes to overall language proficiency. I hope this lecture has provided you with a comprehensive understanding of vowel sounds and their significance in the spoken language. Practice and familiarity with vowel sounds will undoubtedly enhance your language skills and improve your communication abilities. So I really say thank you because you really paid your attention. So thank you for your attention and happy learning. Take much care of yourselves. Goodbye.